Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. You know, here's the thing about this scene with Leo, Javi, and Carrie. And I thought about it all weekend. And I was wondering, was Carrie going to find a way to talk his way out of the situation? Because when you stop and think about it, Leo didn't actually have any definitive proof. He walks in there, and after about like 20 something minutes, he's like, "You're a lady whistleblower." And, he brings up the fact, hey, listen, I told, what I'm saying? I told three of y'all about this story. Okay? So only three of us actually knew about it, and it just magically appears in her column. How is that possible? And of course, Carrie's like, listen, anybody could have been eavesdropping at any point in time. So it's not, what I'm saying? Like, it's not out the realm that somebody couldn't just walk past and just heard what you said. Now, it's not likely, but hell, at the end of the day, that's not definitive proof. That's just a high educated guess. And Leo's like, okay, that's fine. All right. I swear this is where it gets to, it feels like a Bugs Bunny skit. It really does. Because Leo pulls something out of his ass. And he's like, oh, well, you know what? I got surveillance footage that Rafe saw you break into my room numerous amount of times. So, like, yeah, you're caught at this point. Carrie's like, well, that's not possible because I erased the footage. And part of you wants to sit there and say, gotcha. But then you're just like, did this mofo just literally tell on himself? Did he just actually do that? Did he just sit there and tell on himself? So that's where you get to the point where it's like, huh, this would have been a really good moment, but he was stupid enough to tell himself. Now let's just be honest for a minute. This body and soul, this lady whistleblower, was not working for a lot of people. So he had to find some sort of way to wrap this up. Okay, a lot of pressure from fans is like, we don't want this. And you know how they shoot stuff 6 months in advance. So by the time they get around to fixing their mistake, well, they're kind of like knee deep in it at this point. So while I won't give them a pass, I understand that they had to do everything they can to just move this along. And it's funny too, because I was going to sit there and pose a question this week. Why is Carrie doing this? What is his motivation? Shout out to Jonathan. Because Jonathan was actually half right on this one. He was half right on this one. Carrie did it, and I was right as well. Carrie did it for two reasons. He got rejected by Leo, and he felt like he was led astray. And, he blamed the whole thing. And, it just comes down to a bruised ego. I'm like, wait, hold on. You're telling me that you did all this. And by the way, he broke into his room. He put spyware on his laptop, which is a crime at this point. But he did all this because he got rejected? Are you kidding me? Bro, I like women. I like bullies. But I'm confident enough to sit there and say, this is a good looking man. It's not like you can't sit there and find somebody else. I mean, seriously? And then number two, because he's a fanatic. He didn't like the way that the story was going, so, he wanted to quote unquote tell it like it is. But you went about it in the most terrible way possible, which, by the way, I'm surprised his column got as popular and got as powerful was to cause them to worry about the show being canceled. Listen, if I came in every day and I did a review on Days or any other show, and I constantly sat there and said, well, this sucks because of this, and that sucks because of that, and this isn't good because of this, it would be very one note. And after a while, no one want to sit there and watch what I'm sitting there saying because, one, you know what I'm going to sit there and say, and two, yeah, some people like a little negativity, but after a while, it's like, God damn, is there anything positive that you liked about it? If it's just all negative, then it's like, is going to turn people off. So it really didn't make any sense. But the point is, he did all that because he was a fanatic. So at that point, Javi told him to kick rocks, and then they made up, and they kissed. Javi and Leo kissed, and that was pretty much about it. Now, on one level, I'm glad that they didn't write Leo as an idiot, and he was able to sit there and play him and got him to confess and made him look stupid, and that was great because I do think when Leo is actually given good material, he can be a really great character. He can be a really great character when you give him good material. He's not given material and good material, and they just make him be the jokey joke. After a while, that shit just gets old, and I just don't care. So, could have been better, could have been worse. It was a go Leo moment, so I'll let it go. Now, Joyce didn't think she's going to get fired. And, Alice comes in with her. They talk to Abe. And long story short, she ain't getting fired. They're going to work this thing around and make Arrow and Faith or whatever her character is, stronger than ever. Abe isn't happy with the way that Chanel got hurt and everything, but, listen, the show must go on and business is business. So they work it out. Then apparently Joy and Alex have to work out their own stuff because, they like hanging out, spending time together. They don't know where they're at, but they're gonna see where it goes. And that's when you see the previews of Stephanie being like, "Oh, I never want us to break up," and I'm kind of just like, "Yeah, whatever." Um, oh well, boo boo, you missed a chance. Oh well, life sucks. You picked Philip, and I know you picked him out of a consolation prize, but I don't care. I don't feel bad for her. Um, Now here's a person who I'm struggling to feel bad for. Because on one hand, yes, she is the victim. And on one hand, I do understand her feelings got hurt. Johnny, what he did. Okay, I get that. But there's a point where Bonnie comes in and Bonnie wants to sit there and take away a line because she doesn't understand what it means. And Johnny's like, oh, fine, whatever, I don't care. And, he's still wallowing about losing Chanel. And he says, because she makes a comment talking about, well, I hope you use birth control. And Johnny's like, no, I didn't get that far. And Bonnie's like, oh, okay, then, like, I don't understand. Like she's probably like, I don't understand how it got to a point where she wants to divorce you. Like, yeah, she can be mad at you or whatever. Um, sleep in separate rooms. I don't do that whole sleeping on the couch bullshit. Like, no, I paid for that bed. You must have lost your goddamn mind. But, she's even like, wait, you really doing all this for that? And again, I'm not saying I'm trying not to minimize it, but let's not sit there and try to act like this isn't something that you could eventually get past. I mean, hell, you made vows, and this is the problem with millennials or people of that generation. They give up on their shit way too easily. I know my parents before them had it way harder, and they had to sit there and really stick it out through some tough times. But you have her that is kind of coming off as very flaky in a sense. And, just on another note, I'm starting to get so sick and tired of Johnny constantly groveling just to sit there and talk to her. I want him to get to a point where he just stops. And maybe at that point, she'll be like, oh, she'll kind of realize, oh, he stopped fighting for me. Yeah, yeah. Because men don't actually have infinite amount of patience. We really don't. Um, And then, she finds out from Paulina or whatever that her character's getting killed off, and she's like, I was like, killing me off. I'm like, what's the difference? You quit. Like, I don't understand why you feel like you want to sit there and start chiming in on whether your character dies. You say you weren't happy, right? So just shut up and deal with it. Now, she does come in to do the final scene, right? And during their final scene, they're going back and forth as their characters. But there's a point where Joy's not there talking about, oh, your man was begging for it and this, that, and the third. Now, keep in mind, they're talking about the characters. But Chanel gets it in her mind because they're so similar in what Joy did. She wound up smacking her. I'm like, boo, you just committed assault at this point. You're lucky your ass isn't going to jail. And I know Paulina was to then do some bullshit and get her out of that situation, just like she got her out of the situation with the whole Dean thing. But I would have been so happy if she would have sat there and pressed charges. Because at that point, and I know people sit there and say, oh, well, that's what she deserves. She deserves to get smacked. I'm like, see, this is the type of shit that's making me have less sympathy for her. And even George's like, you know what? I'm glad she did. Because for a hot minute, I was beating myself up. And now we're even. I'm like, bro, you just committed assault. And yeah, I get it. It's a soap opera. Blah, 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 blah. I get that part. But I'm like, just divorce him. Go back to your bakery. And, maybe you could just sit there and see less your little moody ass. Like, I get it. She got cheated on. And I'm not just saying that that's right. Right? But, and I get the point where it's like, you got cheated on. How are you supposed to handle that situation? You're not going to be the most logical and rational person. So maybe on some level, it's like she's starting to get me annoyed, and I'm thinking about this more of an emotional part than rational. But I'm trying to look at it and be like, I have sympathy for you, bro. But my sympathy is really waning, like floor level waning at this point. Now, and Paulina just sits there and does her usual baby this, baby that, and I honestly tell you the truth, I just don't give a shit. Bonnie fell down the elevator shaft. Now, of course, you see somebody in the promos marking her off. I'm like, that could have easily been solved by her just, I don't know, pay attention to where she was going. She's looking at her phone the entire time. And like, we always sit there and talk about how millennials is doing nothing but being on their phones. They can't walk and talk and chew gum at the same time. And I'm like, well, this. Like, bro, you a little bit too old to be sitting there doing something like that. But of course, Bonnie is a dingbat, so there's that. And of course, Abe and Paulina finally um got word on who um was behind Lady Whistleblower, and including Kate as well. She also thinks that Carrie is the person who did the tainted cupcakes, but Carrie's like, no, I didn't do that. You know. Now Kate has to sit there and deal with Hattie coming back and put in her clause. Hey, listen, you and Bonnie got the same clause. Okay, no diva mentality, and you don't improv your lines. And so they go through the whole thing on how she's going to revive herself and or her character and stuff, and then towards the end, she lifts the curse. She lifts the curse. If you believe in that. Listen. I can't sit there and say that I don't believe in that, like, because I do believe in voodoo on some level. I do believe in voodoo. I do believe in when you sit there and place a curse like that. Um, your soul pays a heavy price. Literally pays a heavy price. Um, but of course, it's days, so they gotta sit there and make it super comical because why not? I feel like I'm skipping over some stuff. I really feel like I'm skipping over some stuff. Anyway, like I said, Johnny was up there trying to beg Chanel to sit there and talk, and she's all being her charming self. Which again, I can't knock her for being upset, but like I feel like even if I was Johnny at some point, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna sit there and be begging for eternity to sit there and try to get you back. Like, yeah, I messed up royally, and I get that part. But damn, girl, it's literally to death do us part. Like, we're not even gonna sit there and try to work this out, counseling or anything like that. Like, I don't do groveling. That's just beneath me. And that's not me sitting there trying to act like I'm some sort of alpha male. That's just literally beneath me. I don't have the patience for that. I will apologize. I will sit there and admit my wrongdoing. I'll sit there and be like, hey, listen, we talk this out. Could we do counseling or something like that? But I'm not going to be sitting there begging for anyone's attention ever. Um, so I kind of find that scene to be a little annoying, but forgetting it's soap opera, and well, need I say more about that? And if you don't know, I'm pretty sure I did a video on how soap operas portray males. That's why I did a video on that. I'm gonna check. And if it's only for members, I may just actually unrelease it to everyone. Release it to everyone. Let's see if I missed anything. I'm not gonna lie. When I was at work and I was watching this, part of me was sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, they gotta wrap this up, right? This whole lady whistleblower thing. But part of me is sitting there thinking, like, how on earth did they actually think that anyone was interested in this whole thing to begin with? I mean, the soap opera part was already troublesome. Although I personally like the body and soul stuff because it really does give you a window into how soap operas work. There are actors that will sit there and improv their lines. There are actors that will sit there and leave or whatever because of another actor or because of a scandal or because of cheating or whatever. Like that stuff does happen. People do sit there and try to improv their lines, and the writers and people gotta be like, no, 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 no. I wrote this a specific way. Do what I say, not what the hell you want to do. This stuff does actually wind up happening. We don't hear about it as much. We'll probably hear about it a little more now, but like back then, see, the thing is, back then, it really wasn't the internet. It really was not like the internet, like that where you got to find out about this sort of stuff. I always go back to General Hospital and the actress that played Reese, right? And how she was killed over the show. And what people didn't know is that she tried to she attempted to sue General Hospital, and she said that she got fired because she got pregnant. Now she wound up losing the case because it was like you know there was no actual proof. And I know people will say, here's my issue with that. Here's my issue with that. People will sit there and say, but you can't fire a pregnant woman, right? But and I know it sounds bad, but I'm gonna sit there and say because somebody has to, right? When they had that chick Emma, playing Lulu, and she was pregnant, I'm like, you could have let her go for a little bit. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? Like, they couldn't write that into the story because her character couldn't get pregnant. But they were so chicken shit of a lawsuit that, you know, they decided to just let her be there. And they stopped doing the clever angles and stuff. And I'm like, this shit isn't making any sense. And it's literally taking me out the scene. Out the scene. So I'm like, you sit there and say you can't fire a pregnant woman, but I'm like, I feel like in this case, you don't necessarily have to fire her, but you can get somebody else to replace her until she gives birth because it's just not making sense. This type of stuff does wind up happening, and I found that out years later on. So that's why I can appreciate the body and soul stuff. Which I mean, from what other people they're saying it's going to come to a close, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I feel like that's about it. I might have missed some stuff here or there, but that's the general gist. of this episode. Now, I'm not going to be doing a live stream tonight because there's pretty much only one soap opera to talk about, and Days is clearly not popular, which annoys me sometimes because I'm like, it really does reflect my views. This is why, if you can share this video, that would definitely help. I feel like there's times where I will put more energy into Days and GH, and I can sit there and say some stuff, and it could be wiggly biggly, and I'll still get more views than I would on here, and it's just anyway. So anyway, like I said, I'm not going to be doing a stream tonight. I will be back tomorrow though, and we'll sit there and talk about all the shows: General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Bold and Beautiful, and Young and the Restless at the usual time. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are, and if I missed anything, right in the comment section.